serenade for my sweetheart. I'll sing every night by her door. I don't mind if there's gray clouds above me. I will find peace of mind knowing you are there to love me. We'll meet again in the moonlight. I know you'll be waiting there for me. If you wear my wedding ring, then every night I'll sing that sweet serenade from the start. That sweet serenade for my sweetheart.
Hello. I'm going to check and make sure that you all can hear me before I actually start in on the introduction for today, since we're still relatively new at this. So if you would all let me know if you can hear what I'm saying. Turn the music volume down. I can do that. Let me know if that is better. I can also cut the music out entirely if I need to. But welcome to episode 2 of Archival Adventures here from the Virginia Tech University Libraries studios. This is a program that we just started last week where we're taking a look at items in the collections from Special Collections and University Archives here. Last week we had a fun time looking at old pulp science fiction magazines, and yeah, it was a lot of fun to just kind of go through them, look at the art, talk about some of the authors and the magazines themselves. And this week we are going to be looking at the Alice Ross Culinary Ephemera Collection. And if you're not familiar with what the term ephemera is, ephemera generally just refers to items that are not meant to be kept. They're things that would generally just be thrown away, lost. So the fact that there's a collection of them is a nice historical thing. So like ephemera could be anything from theater tickets to a newspaper to a flyer, or basically just anything that is not meant to be saved. It's meant to be used and then discarded. So that's generally what ephemera is. And for today, there are a lot of boxes. There are 16 boxes in this collection that have a number of different things in them, divided by subject, and we're going to take a look at as much of it as I can get to. Feel free to ask questions as we go. Again, this is really to highlight materials in the Special Collections and University Archives collections. If you're in the area, we are open by appointment, and we would be happy for you to stop by. You can find us at scua.lib.vt.edu. I believe. Now that I say that, I don't know if we ever updated it. One second. Yeah, sorry, it's spec.lib.vt.edu. So spec.lib.vt.edu, you can get information about Special Collections and University Archives here at Virginia Tech and how to arrange a visit. I'm going to move us over, thank you, Alice. I'm going to move us over to a screen share where I can show you, I want to talk a little bit about why we have this ephemera collection before we start looking at materials. So I'm going to move us to the screen share scene where you should be able to see browser. So on this browser is the Special Collections and University Archives website, and I'm just going to come over here to collecting areas. Not currently sharing any documents. I think I can hide that. Not sure how. I will leave it there for now. We'll have a document to show in just a minute. Anyway, one of our collecting areas at Special Collections and University Archives is the history of food and drink. And as you can see here, we've got more than 5,000 books and publications, as well as more than 100 manuscript collections. So manuscript collections can be anything from somebody's personal journal to academic papers that they wrote and the notes that they gathered to write those papers. Basically any sort of documents that somebody collected over their lifetime. Manuscript collections generally refers to materials that were not published, whereas a book or publication would be items that were actually put into print. But a manuscript collection is going to be more personal, somebody's actual like documents that they had themselves that weren't necessarily for public consumption before they were added to the archives. An update from archivist Kira. With our most recent donation, we have more than 7,500 volumes relating to food and drink history. We actually did, maybe a month ago, was it, Kira? Got a large new accession of food and drink history materials into the archives, and we've been working on processing them, had them appraised. It's been a little bit of an interesting process to do that during quarantine, but that has been underway. So yes, we did just have a large addition to the collections there. Our history of food and drink includes a couple of named collections within it. So the Peacock Harper Culinary History Collection, which is a group of over 500 published works preserving more than 3 centuries of culinary history. Consists of Dora Greenlaw Peacock's and Laura Jane Harper's private collections of contemporary and historic cookbooks, community cookbooks, household management guides, and home economics and domestic science materials or manuals. There is a link on here to a page with more information about the Peacock Harper Culinary History Collection. That collection is one of the more prominent ones within our history of food and drink. We also have Ann Hertzler Children's Cookbook and Nutrition Literature Collection and Endowment Fund. So this was in 2006. We got an endowment from Dr. Ann Hertzler to acquire materials relating to children's cookbooks and items examining nutrition history. And so that is another portion of our history of food and drink collection. One of our more recent additions is the History of the American Cocktail Collection, where we've been collecting books and other materials on social activities and entertaining, as well as the American cocktail. And so all of those drinks, whether they be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, since mocktails would be included in this as well, we're collecting material on that and make it available for people to use for personal or professional research. And then we also have a food technology and production collection that looks at aspects of agriculture, the Virginia Tech Cooperative Extension, history of changes to the growth, production, marketing, sale, transportation, preparation, and consumption of food. So that is also included in the history of food and drink. The collection that we're specifically looking at today is the Alice Ross Culinary Ephemera Collection, and we do maintain finding aids that tell us more about these things, and it's always a good place to start by going to those finding aids to learn a little bit about the collection that we're going to be looking at. So here I've pulled up a website called Virginia Heritage. Virginia Heritage is the finding aid site for almost all of the archival repositories in the state of Virginia, and I believe we'll be adding materials or adding finding aids from institutions in West Virginia in the future. So a finding aid is basically a description that the archivist wrote about a collection to help you find what's in it. So it's our description of what's included in the collection, and is really the best place to start when doing research for manuscript collections particularly. Our library catalog works for any of our published materials like books, but the finding aid really is the central starting point for looking at the manuscript collections and finding out what's included in them. So I'm going to pull up our finding aid for the Alice Ross collection. And I will see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So this is what an archival finding aid looks like, at least what our archival finding aids look like. Here you can see there's information on what repository it's in, which Special Collections and University Archives at Virginia Tech. The collection number, which is a number that we made up and assigned to it so that we can identify the collection. Ours is Ms2017-008, which literally, just because of our internal numbering system, I know that that means that we got this in 2017, or that we processed this in 2017, and that it was the 8th collection that we assigned a number to that year. It doesn't really have any meaning other than that. It's really just an identifier to help us find the collection. But yeah, so here we have, it's the Alice Ross Culinary Ephemera Collection. It covers a time frame from 1860s to the 1960s, and there's a little bit of information in an abstract. We'll look at that in a second. We generally do a little bit of research on who somebody is when a collection is named after them, just so that we can provide a little context. So in this case, Alice Ross. Who is Alice Ross? You may be familiar with her if you're familiar with food history at all, but there's a good chance that you're not. So Dr. Alice Ross was a culinary historian and consultant. She received her doctorate from the State University at Stony Brook. Her dissertation was Women, Work, and Cookery, Suffolk County, Long Island, New York, 1880 to 1920. And if you are at all familiar with kind of library description and library cataloging, the term cookery might be something that you're familiar with. It really is just a term that is used to identify items related to cooking. During her career, she served as a consultant in historical food for Virginia's Colonial Williamsburg and the Lowell National Historic Park in Massachusetts. She also co-founded the Culinary Historians of New York, taught at CCNY, Community College of New York, I believe that is, Hofstra, and NYU. And beginning in 1988, ran a studio that offered classes in culinary history and traditional methods. Native American and Civil War cookery game butchery and prep, and baking using hearth and brick ovens. She also worked as an editor and contributor to portions of the Oxford Companion series volumes relating to food, and authored and contributed to other books and articles. So she was a food historian and helped out in a lot of sort of prominent cultural implementations of food history. So serving as a consultant at Colonial Williamsburg and other places where they were actually like recreating old recipes and things like that, which is pretty amazing. And if you haven't seen any of like the various YouTube channels out there that do that sort of thing, if you're at all interested in food history, it's worth taking a look because there are a number of them out there on the internet. There's also a scope and content note in here that basically gives an overall description of the collection. This collection has more than 2,000 pieces of ephemera related to food and culinary history, advertising and marketing, food production, agriculture, holidays and celebrations, domestic culture dating from the mid-19th to the mid to late 20th century. There are a lot of trade cards, postcards, greeting cards, advertisements from printed sources, and a small number of recipe booklets. If you're not familiar with trade cards in this context would be something put out by a business that promoted the business and their products. They're similar to like baseball cards or the kind of bubblegum cards that would come in the 20th century. They're kind of the precursor to that. So yeah, there's a variety of items in here. They're arranged by Dr. Ross, who put them into binders for instruction and personal use by major categories or topics. And so we've kept them in that order. The topics and categories that are covered are Coteline and the Demise of Lard, Domestic Life of First Nation Peoples, Ethnicity and Immigrants, Fish and Meats, Food Vending, Fruits, Vegetables, and Herbs, holidays, seasons and calendars, household and home, manufactured and processed foods, places in history, series, and women and girls. And so we'll be pulling them out and taking a look at some of these items on the document camera. I don't know a lot about this topic. I know a little bit about this topic. So there may be terms that I'm unfamiliar with. There may be things that I'm unfamiliar with. I've not looked or pre-screened any of the items. These are historical documents, so there is every chance that they will have something in them in their depictions that could be offensive. So a warning there that we are looking at items from history and they reflect the time that they are from. So if something is brought up and it is offensive, I can definitely take it out of the shot, but I'm trying to share these historical items, so we may come across things that may be offensive to someone. First, I'm going to start with box one, and I'm going to switch us over to the document camera view, and feel free to comment or ask questions if you wish to, but if you're here lurking, that is entirely fine. There's no requirement to interact. So, Coteline. First, I'll slide this under the camera and see if you can see. This is an archival box that is an actual binder. So, a 3-ring binder, but in an archival box. The items themselves are inside little plastic holders. They came to us that way, if I recall correctly. So I'm actually going to be pulling items out of here so that you can see them better. We'll start with the first item. So if anybody in chat knows what Coteline is, please let me know, because it is a term that I'm not familiar with. And if nobody wants to pop in with a definition, I will have to look it up. Because I don't know what Coteline is. The first item here, this choicest of all cookbooks, the 600 selected recipes, preparation and consumption of wholesome food. By N.K. Fairbank and Company, Chicago, St. Louis, Montreal, New York. So as you can see, the condition is not mint condition. The cover has actually detached. It's an old paperback, so. Coteline. Hey, this actually has a definition of Coteline, or a description of Coteline. So I guess we'll find out. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Too far. Let me autofocus that. There we go. Crisco. Okay. Coteline, a vegetable fat, is a new and hygienic substitute for animal cooking fats and is a most important factor in all cooking. Coteline is a pure, sweet preparation of refined and clarified cottonseed oil and choice selected beef suet. It contains no other ingredients, no salt, no water, and no coloring matter. It is of the consistency and temperature of lard and has a creamy color approximating that of natural butter. It is almost without odor and has a neutral flavor to the taste. Interesting. I was not familiar with that term, but I guess this section in the collection is called Coteline and the Demise of Lard, so it would make sense that this is essentially the vegetable oil substitutes that we have. So yeah, this is a book. It looks like it's a cookbook. Bread, biscuit, and rolls, griddle cakes, fritters and donuts, soups, fish and shellfish, meats, poultry and game, some salads, cheese dishes, puddings, desserts, cakes, ices and sherbets, preserves, pickles, and then a section on kitchen weights and measures. So if one of those stands out and you really want me to flip to a section, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of show a couple of pages here, and if something pops out, I'll highlight it. Seems like I was in the fish section, now it looks like I'm in game. Mutton duck. Select a 4/4 of mutton with the whole length of the leg bone left on. But what does it have to do with duck? I don't think it has anything to do with duck. I think it is just... Ah, here we go. This mock duck is an attractive way of serving what is usually considered an inferior piece of meat, and solves the vexing problem, how to carve a 4/4 of mutton. I'm sure everyone has encountered that problem in the modern day. Apparently it was a vexing problem back then. Yeah. So starting us off with a cookbook. There are a lot of cookbooks in our History of Food and Drink collection. So not unsurprising to come across one. But I picked this collection for this week because last week we came across a bunch of advertisements and people seemed interested in the ads, and this collection has some old food advertisements in it. So I'm hoping to get to some of those. I will put things back in just a moment here. The beginning here, it seems very... A lot of books on Codaline, a lot of cookbooks. Ah, but here we have some ads. So I'll pull out a few of those and we'll take a look. I'm guessing that I will have to take these out of the plastic, but let me know. Oh, it's actually showing up fairly well in the plastic, although this one is bigger than... It's like a little booklet. Cooks of all nations. Codaline shortens your food, lengthens your life. So Codaline as a shortener. Codaline shortens your food, lengthens your life. Everything about Codaline is clean and pure from its origin to its completion. Warmed into life by the sun of southern cotton fields, nurtured by rain and dew, the cotton plant finally concentrates its seed, that life-giving and life-sustaining quality which is the basis of Codaline. Codaline makes food nutritious, delicious, healthful, and digestible. Food cooked with hog lard is not easily digested and is oftentimes unpalatable. Codaline is economical, 1/3 less is required than of butter or other cooking fats. Codaline is a clean product and is put up in sealed tin pails and can never absorb disagreeable odors from other products, as do bulk shortenings. Codaline contains nothing but refined vegetable oil and choice beef suet. It is always uniform, and we guarantee the quality. Lard, on the other hand, is made from hog fat. It may not even be the pure article. Can you afford to run chances? And then there's some recipes worth trying. French breakfast rolls, waffles, minute biscuit, corn drops, rich Taylor cakes, donuts, good plain pie crust, and white cupcake. And here, the illustration here is labeled The Italian Cook. When you're in Rome, 'tis said that you should do just as the Romans do. If this be so, 'tis plainly seen that you should cook with cotiline. For there the fair Italian maids all use it in their famed spaghetti. They bake their pane with it too, and use it in their capelletti. So it's a little poem about Italians using cotiline. Some noted endorsers of cotiline, so famous names that people might be familiar with. That people back then might be familiar with. I haven't yet seen a date on this item. Mrs. Sarah Tyson Rohrer, Principal, Philadelphia Cooking School. Mrs. F.A. Benson, President, New York Cooking School. Mrs. Emma P. Ewing, Director, Model Home School of Household Economics. Lyda Ames Willis, the well-known writer and lecturer on dietetics, household economy, etc. Marian Harland, well-known cooking expert and writer on culinary subjects. Christine Terhune Herrick, well-known eminent authority on practical cooking. Margaret Wister, editor The Parlor and Kitchen, and Eliza Parker, well-known cooking expert and lecturer on pure foods. And then here on the back, the first thing that we saw when I pulled this out is another poem called The English Cook. In the tight little island across the sea that once owned the land of the brave and the free, you'll find Johnny Bull enjoying his meal with a relish intense and a vim that is real. Says he, "Uncle Sam, you're dandy, you are. At my own little game you beat me by far. But really and truly I never did dream we'd make English pudding with your cotiline." So there's, as far as I can tell, there's not a date on this. The entire back of it is little poems, and as you can see, some of the illustrations are definitely racist. Yes, Alice, the pictures are terrifying. But yeah, I'm not certain of the date on this. I'm guessing this is some of the late 19th century material because it definitely seems older than like the early 20th century. Here we have a little, another little book about cotiline. As far as I can tell, cotiline is not a brand name, but it could be. I'm not certain. The way it's depicted here, it seems like it's a brand name, but if it is, it's definitely one that has died out from the public consciousness. Makes good cooking better. So yeah, the various recipes here. It was a brand name and it is long gone, according to archivist Kira. So I will just say it is lovely having Kira in the chat because Kira does the most work with this collection out of any of the archivists here at Virginia Tech. So she is definitely the one that has the most knowledge about these materials. And since part of my goal for this show is to encounter things somewhat organically, I'm not purposefully investigating them ahead of time, so I'm seeing them for the first time when I'm showing them to you. And Kira said, "I'm here for real now. I was on caption only before, so here to help. Thank you. So here we have an item, a public secret. And it's very delicate. There's a lot of some old tape, old cellophane tape holding it together. And so I want to be rather gentle with it here. Quotes from two of the people we saw mentioned in that other item, Sarah Tyson Rohrer and Emma Ewing. But yeah, it's a whole little booklet advertising Codaline on behalf of the N.K. Fairbank Company. Oh, it's like a little storybook. One morning to market a fair maiden went. On food that was wholesome her mind was intent. A sign advertising a pure food she heeded, and homeward returned with the product she needed. The market man gave her the neatest of books, with a pail of the very best thing known to cooks, and shortly her friends were all struck with surprise at her very fine pastry and excellent pies. One evening to tea a young man was invited, to whom she hoped fondly some day to be plighted. When he ate of her biscuits and exquisite pies, he thought, she's a wonder, a treasure, a prize. After tea in the parlor, this bashful young man avowed to himself, I will win if I can. So he hastened to ask the fair maid for her hand, lest another should get the best cook in the land. Soon after he placed on her finger a ring. It was such a beauty, a bright, sparkling thing, and all her girl friends were most anxious to know what wonderful magic she used on her bow. She proudly displayed then the magical pail, and gave them this rule to observe without fail. To become a good cook without even half trying, use white cotiline for all shortening and frying. For the woman who's skilled in the great cooking art already has learned how to win a man's heart. So all of her friends were soon afterwards seen, each buying a pail of white, pure cotiline. Belief in some signs may be called superstitious, but this sign describes a food product nutritious. As cotiline shortens both courtship and pies, we hope you will follow this word to the wise. And interspersed in there were testimonials from various cooking professors. And basically that's the whole book. This one doesn't even seem to have recipes in it. It's really just the illustrated poem and testimonials from cooking instructors. But that's a pretty creative advertisement, I think, writing a poem and illustrating it like that. They're somewhat fun. Is that a secret then? I missed what that was about, Kira. That's way back before I even mentioned the cellophane tape, so I'm not sure. Well, we've done a good bit of time on cotiline, so, the public secret. I'm going to move on from cotiline and lard. I'm a little leery of the next topic. I'm uncertain what to expect. It is domestic life and First Nations peoples. So we'll see. because of the age of the materials, I'm not certain what we will find. I'm just going to pull a few pages from the front and we will look at them. So if it's too glossy, let me know, and I can pull the items out of the plastic. So here's an illustration. It appears that this is probably a Thanksgiving-related postcard of some sort. I mean, yes, all Thanksgiving bounty thine, or be thine. So here we have a depiction of, oh, it's embossed as well. There's relief here, running my finger over it. It's actually, there's relief to the illustration. But yeah, a stereotypical native depiction of a female Native American with a feather headband on a cart full of produce being pulled by a turkey. I don't know if anything's on the back. I will attempt to discover that. There is, but it is pasted to a piece of paper and I'm not going to remove it. So, but it is just a postcard. Just a postcard. It's a postcard. Here we have some more items. These are, again, postcards. The one here in the upper left, I'll pull it out. It's a little too glossy inside the sleeve. So the description on the front says, an Indian woman grinding maize in primitive fashion. Great Smoky Mountains National Park. A little judgmental, that. I don't see a date on it, but these items are mostly from the early half of the 20th century and before. So yeah, this is just a postcard with an illustration of an indigenous woman grinding maize, according to the description. One thing about depictions of indigenous people, especially from these types of works and from this time frame, oftentimes they weren't asked if their picture could be taken. I don't know if that's the case with any of these, but it's certainly a possibility. I did put on some gloves. Some of these are glossy, and so the oils from my skin could potentially damage them, which is why I added the gloves. Oftentimes we do work with archival materials without the cotton gloves because they mess with your dexterity and make it easier to tear old pages. So here, another illustration. It appears to be two women grinding grain. Again, there's a description on the back. Ross Allen, I'm not sure who Ross Allen is, watching Seminole Indians grinding corn. These early Americans have reestablished their home at Silver Springs, Florida, living and working the year round in Ross Allen's famous Reptile Institute. Pictured here are Miss Louise Billy and her mother, Mrs. Robert Osceola. So these are, again, part of the Alice Ross Culinary Ephemera Collection. Postcards would definitely be considered ephemera. They're something you purchase and write a message on and mail it away, and most often they're not going to be saved. Somebody will get the message, they might appreciate it. They might appreciate it for a number of years, but eventually it'll be thrown away. They were not intended as something that you would necessarily like frame and put on your wall and keep for a long, long time. This one just says an Alaskan Indian cache. So no identification of what actual tribe or nation. Quaint, primitive structures built by Indians, trappers and prospectors alike for the safekeeping of provisions and supplies from animals. Alaskan caches always figure in picturesque photographs of the territory. So yeah, there's very little information there about what actual culture this comes from. It just says Alaskan Indians, and there are a number of different tribal nations from Alaska. And actually knowing that would help to put some of these things into cultural context. But as I said at the beginning, these are historical documents. We're taking them as they are. Here we have one labeled Going to Cache, Mission Indian, California. And on the back, the Mission Indian is naturally clever with his hands. His house is round in form and thatched with tools, in parentheses, reeds. He made baskets, mats, and nets long before Spanish civilization touched him. Baskets were woven from grass or willow shoots of various sizes and forms. Granary baskets for seeds and grain held many bushels, and when filled were placed on rude, elevated platforms to preserve them from marauders. Baskets hold a prominent place in his festivals, and a grass basket hung to a pole marks a woman's grave. He did not plant seed or raise vegetables, but still possessed sufficient forethought to conduct water about the roots he required for food in order to secure a good harvest. Deer, quail, and rabbits were easily trapped and constituted the rest of his menu. So it definitely fits within the context of a culinary collection. It's giving information about foodways. It's written in a very patronizing manner, which came out, I think, in how I read it. It definitely doesn't respect the people that it's describing in the way that the description is written, but it does still provide information about at least what the person writing it believed were the ways that they interacted with food. I'm going to look and see if there's any particularly interesting ones. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to some more, since we're about halfway through the program today, and I definitely want to get to some of the other sections. But yeah, again, if you've got questions, let me know. If you're just lurking and listening in or just want to watch, that is totally acceptable, and we're glad that you're here. I am going to move on from the First Nation Peoples one. The next one could also be a little bit of a minefield. It's called Ethnicity and Immigrants, so we'll see what we find here. Again, I will reiterate, these are historical documents, and we're taking them as they are. Let's see what we've got. Looks like we have some more postcards here. I'll pull out a page and we'll look at them. So here we have an item. I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit more on it. Oh. The controls on here are not immediately responsive, so I sometimes am stumbling over the zoom. All right, so we've got some cards here. This looks like two of the same card. I will show the one that's a little clearer here. Le beurre, la baratte, bascule en Amérique, véritable extrait de viande Liebig. Liebig? I'm not sure. I'm not certain exactly what it says. It appears to be a depiction of people working with extractum carnis, manufactured by the Liebig's Extractor Limited, London. So it is definitely some sort of beef product. Extractum carnis. I'm guessing this is a beef suet, but I'm not 100% certain. The item is not in English, and I don't speak whatever language it's actually in. So I'm not sure. The depiction here actually shows two people of color working the extractor machine, and then there's a woman over here who appears to be doing some sort of processing. Some cattle in the background, and it is just a little card. Appears to be like a what did I call them? This one is not a postcard. This is a trade card. This would be one of the trade card examples, and this whole page is actually from this same company. I can show a couple more of them here, and we can take a look at those illustrations. So here we have Liebig's Fleisch extract. So again, that sounds very similar to the Extractum carnis. Archivist Kira has clarified the company produced meat extracts and beef stock cubes, but primarily a sort of meat substitute paste made from trimmings and fat. And so there was the processor in the first postcard. It was supposed to be a cheap alternative to meat itself. Here, it seems like there's a churn being used. And you can see the people are in sort of like typically Austrian German style, like stereotypical clothing. And we've got some high mountains in the background. Die Butter. And then there's the same like green ink illustration on the back. Oh, it's not the same illustration, but it is the color, full color on one side, and then the green on the back side so that you could write on it. Véritable extrait de viande Liebig. I think I'm not certain what language it is. It has some elements that are similar to German, but also some that really feel French. So I'm not sure. La fabrication du beurre en Hollande. Like that is French, but this down here, some of it in other places feels German. I mean, they're not that far apart, and I don't speak either of them fluently. I've only had minimal instruction in both, so. Yeah, so these are some of those trade cards, and these are in the section that is specifically focused on ethnicity and immigration. So it's showing sort of different cultures and their interactions with foods. This is all from that same company, this entire page is. Here we have le beurre, la fabrication du beurre dans l'Asie centrale. So Central America. I think this is French, or at least that description was French. Just checking. Oh, no, so yes, it is French, and this is the butter. The company produced multiple sets of trade cards, each around different themes. And these are the butter set. Yes, so this is the butter, the fabrication of butter from Central Asia. So this would be kind of based on the depiction in the picture. My guess would be that they're going for somewhere in Mongolia. And then on the back, vue des usines de la compagnie Liebig Frey Bentos. So on the back, it's showing different facilities of the company, I believe. So this is a view from one of their facilities. And this one showing the production of butter in Armenia. So at the time, this would have been quite interesting to people to get these views from around the world. How accurate they are, I don't know. I'm not a historian of that type, so I'm not certain how accurate they actually are to what life was like. I also don't know for certain what time period they're intended to represent, but these would have been drawing on the cultural expectations of their audience at the time that they were being sent out, just as any advertising does. So these would have been familiar garb for a certain area. So like what they have here for the Central Asia, the clothing that those people in the picture are wearing would have been something that would have been a cultural familiarity, whether or not it was accurate. Since these are essentially advertisements, they're wanting to draw upon what their audience is expecting, to kind of have a shorthand. Let's see. I will give a choice. Fish and meats, food vending, or holidays. Where should we go next? I'm going to get a sip of water. Anybody? Nope. Okay. I'm gonna go to holidays. Ooh, we've got Wilson Spice Company. That should be interesting. Let's take a look here. And I'll have to zoom back out. All right. So here we have another trade card, different shape. I think it's clear. Midsummer Greeting, Wilson Spice Company. Summer's hourly mellowing change shall blow with many roses sweet. Tennyson. So definitely meant to advertise spices. On the back, it's completely blank. There's some handwriting here in pencil. Elizabeth Getz, it appears to say. But on the front, just a man with a sickle and a woman with a pail in a field with barn behind. I'm not exactly sure what spices they're advertising with that, but they are definitely advertising the Wilson Spice Company. Here we have another Midsummer Greeting from the Wilson Spice Company. Broad on either hand, the golden wheat fields glimmered in the sun. Whittier. So they're pulling on quotes from famous authors for their advertising here, and then just showing illustrations of seasonal farm work, it seems like. Here, people bundling hay. They're nice as art pieces. Oh, this one actually has something on the back. If you want a picture card like this, buy a package of Lion Coffee. It is composed of a successful combination of mocha, Java, and Rio, and is roasted with the greatest care, but is not ground. Is never sold in bulk. Beautiful picture in every package. Lion is the king of coffees. Manufactured by Wilson Spice Company, Toledo, Ohio. So the first one was blank. This one actually had an advertisement on the back. And if you can't tell, I enjoy reading old advertisements. Here we have another Midsummer Greeting from Wilson Spice Company. Meadows trim with daisies pied, shallow brooks and rivers wide. Milton. And a young woman in a straw hat with a cow in a field. It appears she's got a milking bucket, possibly. And the little detail here, the poem is tacked on with a pin, except that it's all just printed. It's not actually a separate element that's been tacked on. And this one again is blank on the back. As is this one. This one's also blank on the back. Another of the Midsummer Greetings from Wilson Spice Company. The children are culling on every side in 1,000 valleys far and wide, fresh flowers while the sun shines warm. Wordsworth. So the farmhouse near the lake. Some horses pulling a very large cart of hay. And it appears two women down here picking flowers. So very pastoral country scenes depicting summer activity that would be out in the countryside. The front of those was very calm, and then in the middle of it, this bold-faced with lots of exclamation points advertisement for Lion Coffee. Sort of felt out of place. Here we have a card, not just a postcard, but a full-on card. It is showing a couple of a horse team there and a hay cart, two men working. There's no text on the front, so another depiction of the process of harvesting hay. It's blank on the inside, so no pre-written greeting. And on the back, it's just labeled Bringing in the Harvest from a painting by Trevor Clare, Endeavour Publishing, South Australia. So that appears to just be a greeting card. Not an advertisement. Here we have another Wilson Spice Company Midsummer Greeting. This one is a rectangular shape rather than the hexagons we had before. This is some young children playing, some of them barefoot. We've got a stick for stickball over in the corner, possibly some apples, a little picnic basket. And on the back, a good old ad for Lion Coffee. To secure a picture card like this, you have only to buy a package of Lion Coffee. It is composed of a successful combination of mocha, Java, and Rio. Sold only in 1-pound packages, a beautiful picture card in every package. It is roasted with the greatest care, but not ground. Lion is the king of coffees, manufactured by the Wilson Spice Company, Toledo, Ohio. So the juxtaposition of these kind of quiet little scenes with very loud advertisements, even in their printing. Lots of bold, lots of exclamation points. I mean, you can kind of hear that radio announcer in your head when you're looking at the way they're printed. Next is one for a product that is actually still sold today. I'm gonna zoom out as much as I can here before I put it in there. All right. So this is from Muncie's Magazine advertising section. And it is an ad for None Such Mincemeat. In the summertime, homemade mincemeat will not keep in summer. None Such Mincemeat is a year-round delicacy, as good in summer as in winter, because it is packed to keep and does not spoil by using the delicious None Such Mincemeat. Pie time is all the time. You make the crust, we will fill it perfectly. 10 cents a package makes 2 large pies. For sale by every good grocer, 10 cents a package. Recipes for fruit pudding and fruit cake on every package. Premium list of 1847 Rogers Brothers, silverware enclosed. Beware of imitation packages. Merrill Sewell Company, Syracuse, New York. So None Such Mincemeat is actually still sold. It's sold in jars. They are definitely not 10 cents a package, and 1 jar does not fill 2 pies. But it is still a product that is on the market, and that you could go to your grocer and probably find a jar of None Such Mincemeat today to make a mincemeat pie. And this, the flip side is not food related, but it's still an ad, so let's look at it. New suits and skirts for Easter. This is from the National Cloak Company. If you wish something decidedly new in a suit or skirt and entirely different from the ready-made garments which you find in every store, write for our catalog and samples. There are hundreds of firms selling ready-made suits and skirts, but we are the only house making fashionable garments to order at moderate prices. Our spring catalog illustrates an exquisite line of ladies' costumes and skirts selected from the newest Paris models. Our designs are exclusive and are shown by no other firm. And the materials from which we make our garments comprise only the very latest fabrics. So there's not actually a date on either of these pages. So the closest I can date it is the reference here to the premium list of 1847 Rogers Brothers silverware. So sometime in the mid-1800s. This one I can only read part of, but I will show it. Up at the top, it mentions a Happy New Year. And we've got a woman and a man and a young girl, and there's a box. I want to say it's a music box, but I'm not certain. And it looks like a caged bird on top of it. Down here at the bottom is some writing in, it appears to be Hebrew, which I do not read, so I can't tell you what it says down there. It is a postcard from the Williamsburg Postcard Company in New York. But yeah, this appears to just be a Happy New Year greeting. A street organ, that's the word I was trying to come up with. Yes, a street organ. And there's a caged bird on top of it. And the young girl in it is looking at something. I'm not certain what. It appears to be maybe a photograph or a card, or I'm not sure, a piece of paper. But yeah, she's definitely viewing something there. So this one doesn't appear to be specifically food related. It's just a greeting postcard, which there are a number of, like in the holiday section, there are a number of cards and greeting cards and things in this collection. Let's see, we've got another midsummer and a few Halloween items here. And I need another sip of water, so take a look at that while I get it. Okay, you should be able to hear me again. Let me know if you can. Yes. The audio receiver for the lavalier mic, batteries died, so that's where my audio went. All right, Halloween. This one is definitely a food-themed item. Jack-o'-lantern with a corn body, and I'm not certain what vegetable those are. It's a root vegetable. Rutabagas, maybe? Black cat. Definitely says Halloween toward the bottom. BBNC, your old friend, Freddie Foster, 164 Lisbon Street. So it is a postcard. Appears to have been sent in 1909 from Lewiston, Maine, and was addressed to Miss Elzada Bailey, East Poland, Maine. And apparently putting on just her name, the name of the town, and the state was enough to get it there. I do not know the H, H, S, and S, what those are meant to indicate to them. But a postcard from 1909 with an illustration that honestly would not be surprising to see today. It is a somewhat silly harvest illustration for Halloween there. All right. All Halloween greeting. So a woman cracking eggs. Interestingly, there appears to be a ghost in the smoke from her candle, and that ghost is reflected in the bowl. So that is somewhat interesting. The face appears to be, it almost looks like the moon in old illustrations. That is a very interesting illustration. This space for writing messages, printed in Germany. U.S. postage on it was 1 penny, and it was sent from Seymour, Connecticut. October 28th at 6 p.m. is when it was stamped, and 1903 is the date. Lives in a house that stands on a foundation upon Spruce Street near the corner. Guess what? This is Jot Holmes, Seymour, Connecticut. So 1903, Halloween greeting postcard. Let's see what else we've got. So here is another Halloween one. This one is also in relief, so there's texture to it if you run your hand across it. This appears to be someone trying to catch an apple at a party. Clearly a Halloween party because jack-o'-lantern. We had one of our student workers here who actually did a lot of historical research into the history of Halloween. So some of these materials were actually this type of thing that she used for her research. Tux postcard. Halloween Postcards Series number 183. So, Halloween. Let's see what else we can find. We do have about a half an hour left that we're going to look at materials. We'll take a look at fish and meats next. So, this one, we have a lovely illustration of some ice fishing. Looks like there's an ice boat as well, or an ice, I'm not sure exactly what it's called. It's the kind of like a parasailer, or where you've got like a surfboard with a sail on it, but it's built to run on the ice. I don't know specifically what they're called, like a catamaran or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's people ice skating and ice fishing. Try Dielen's Celeratus Soda, warranted pure. You are invited to try a package. H.A. and L.J. Dieland and Company's chemical baking powder. It is made from pure grape cream tartar and pure bicarb soda and is absolutely pure. We put it up only in pound, half-pound, and quarter-pound cans, and we confidently claim that it has no superior in the market. To assist in its early introduction to the consumer, we have ordered an expensive reprint of a holiday book for children, beautifully illustrated, relating to wonderful adventures of two little girls named Wonder Eyes and What For. It is a perfect gem of art and cannot fail to give the children hours of happiness. We will take great pleasure in mailing a copy of this book to anyone who buys a pound of our chemical baking powder for the first time. H.A. and L.J. Dieland and Company, Fairport, New York. For sale by Lewis Heil, Dunkirk, New York, dealer in groceries and provisions, who will notify us when purchase is made. So this is for baking soda. Yet the illustration is very fish, with the ice fishing. Next we have an illustration that is a mill house, a water mill, in winter it seems, with a rose. But on the back, fish. Orient Guano Manufacturing Company. Office 16 and 18, Exchange Place, New York. Manufactures its fertilizers from bonefish and potash. The best fertilizers for the least money, namely standard aminated bone superphosphate, Orient Complete Manure, the Long Islander, Suffolk County, Fish and Potash. Factories located at Orient, Long Island, New York. Orient Guano Manufacturing Company. So it is a company trade card. I don't know when it's from. Oh, the baking powder one was from the Baking Powder Wars. Interesting. I know that is a period of history. Some of these advertising wars between the food companies are really fascinating reading. Let's see. Colombia's best extra quality fresh salmon. You know, that would be a distinct challenge to catch salmon from a rowboat like that. This illustration does not seem true to life. Salmon are big. Although these fish that he's catching with that net seem to be about as big as the boat. So, interesting illustration. Interesting also, like Colombia's best, it reminds me of Seattle's Best, the coffee company. And this, I mean, salmon probably helps to bring that to mind for me. But even the font feels similar to me for some reason. It probably has nothing to do with it. It just came to mind. Colombia's Best, label from can of salmon packed on the Columbia River circa 1900. Seufert Collection, 1978, Oregon Historical Society. So, Oregon. This is a postcard. The postcard appears to be 1978. The original illustration, or the image here, is 1900. And here again we have a lovely illustration, two kids on a beach with a dog. And it's for the Guano Manufacturing Company again. Making fertilizer. I love the juxtaposition. You see this and you don't immediately think fertilizer. Or at least I don't immediately think fertilizer. But all you have to do is flip that card and there you have fertilizer. All right, let's see what else we've got in here for fish and meat. We've got some interesting shaped ones here. So there's no text with these, so they're simply just images. Women with little pigs. They seem very out of our folk tales and fairy tales, European folk tales and fairy tales, but definitely illustrations relating to pork and pig products. Here we've got, I say that at least they're organized as though they are, because they're in with other things like this, where we've got Rex brand. The crown it says Rex brand across it. It says registered, so it's a registered trademark, I guess. Little pigs here. Here we've got Fidelity hams. Nourish, tend to help the brain to comprehend. And it says Sinclair's Fidelity. Both are, this one here is manufactured by TM Sinclair Company, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, pork and beef packers. That's the one here. And then the other one on the back, the Coude Packing Company, Chicago, Illinois, Omaha, Nebraska, Sioux City, Iowa, Los Angeles, California, Curers of the Celebrated, Rex brand, sugar-cured meats, canned meats, pure leaf lard. For something extra fine, try Coude's, sugar-cured, hams and breakfast bacon. So the getting into cutouts, not pure postcards anymore. There's a few really interesting cutout type ones here. Here we have an ice cream cone. So a lovely scoop of chocolate ice cream on a waffle cone. That's all it is. I'm not certain exactly what we're supposed to get from this as a historical item. It is part of the collection, and the collection was definitely food-related items. There's not a lot of information here, so I don't know where this illustration comes from, exactly what it was advertising, or if it was advertising anything. But it did catch my eye in the collection. It is quite thick cardboard as well. We're definitely looking at a couple of items here that are dairy related. We've got Clark & Dixon. This looks like Clark & Dixon Jewelers. Elm Street, Manchester, New Hampshire. But it's a little kitten drinking some milk out of a teacup. Just a little postcard. Next, we've got actually certified milk. The best is none too good for baby, I think is what it's supposed to say. It says or baby. Cows tuberculin tested. The milk that puts the roses in kitties' cheeks. Distributed by all principal dealers. Physicians recommend certified milk. It's a pasteboard, like thicker paper. It appears to have had other writing come up against it, various ink and things. There doesn't seem to be anything more to it than just what's on the front, though. Interesting that they're starting to call upon, like, physicians recommend certified milk, and cows are tuberculin tested. So that can sort of help to date it. There was no date listed on it, but I'd be looking at times when there were tuberculosis outbreaks as likely time period for that advertisement. Here we've got some cattle. Again, like some of these items in the collection just don't really have context. So you've got illustrations, apart from the fact that this is the fish and meat section. Yes, the downside to ephemera, oftentimes no dates. because they weren't intended to be kept. So we don't know when they're from without context clues. And even then, we can just do a circa such and such date. We don't know for certain, but we think it's here, and here's why. Compliments of Partridge's Dining Rooms in Philadelphia. Another illustration with cattle. Great reduction in prices of cakes and creams. Pound and lady cakes, 40 cents. Fruit or black cakes, 50 cents. Assorted fine cakes, 60 cents. Cream in molds, 40 cents. Cream in plain cans, 35 cents. In our dining business, our prices are also reduced, and every article served may be relied on as in the past 16 years. Established 1862, Edward Partridge. So this is a price list for products sold in Partridge's Dining Rooms. A number of these items, like, they don't really, they present you with just a plain piece of art, a lovely, beautiful picture, and the ad is on the flip side. So you can just appreciate the art, and the ad is there if you want it. Which I don't think is terribly common today. So here we have another cutout advertisement. This one made to look like a beef cut. I don't know enough about beef cuts to tell you what cut of meat this is. An Albert Pick Hotel. And this is a menu, I think. Yeah, it's a menu. America's favorite meal, steaks. We have the best, all cut from choice steer critters of top quality and select cuts, and we give our guarantee that all come from highest ranking bovine aristocracy. Boneless sirloin steak. Here's a choice steer at its best, toothsome and perfectly seasoned, and prepared on our high-speed broiler to your choice of rare, medium, or well done. $4. Special tenderloin steak. From the heart of the tenderloin right next door to the sirloin, delicately flavored and guaranteed to be tasty and tender and broiled to suit the taste of the most discriminating. $3. Juicy porterhouse steak. Bovine aristocracy, yes. Juicy porterhouse steak. Cut to include both the sirloin and tenderloin strips with all the juicy flavor around the T-bone, perfectly seasoned and broiled to your order. $4. Rib steak, the choice of many persons because of its tender grain and succulent flavor, cut out of heavy choice steers and broiled to your own chosen degree of rarity. $3.25. Top sirloin butt steak. All meat and cut from the heart of the center butt, where there are only 6 or 8 in each full-grown steer critter. Broiled and served with a garlic butter sauce. $2.75. I'm very curious about the use of critter over and over in this. I do not have a date on this, but it's definitely, I'd say early 20th century, but they keep referring to them as critters, and that is amusing to me. This steak menu has been planned to meet your discriminating taste. Your choice of steak will determine the price of the complete dinner chosen from the following menu. Steak dinner. Chilled tomato juice. Cup of today's soup. Choose your steak. Price of steak includes complete dinner. Choice of curly Q French fried potatoes. hash brown potatoes, and snowflake potatoes. Choice of sliced garden tomatoes, wedge of head lettuce, combination of lettuce and tomato. Choice of dressing, mayonnaise, French, garlic, Roquefort, hot rolls and butter. Choice of coffee, tea, milk, iced tea, and iced coffee. How do you like your steak? Rare. The center of the steak is almost purple, and the rest a very bright pink. Medium rare. The purple has disappeared, but the center is still bright pink. Medium. The bright pink becomes softer, and the edges have a well-done appearance. Or well. The pink has almost all disappeared, and the steak has a cooked meat color. And then the back is just another steak. So this menu, I suppose, would have been used at any Albert Pick hotel? Yeah, I was feeling 40s, but you're right, it probably could also be 30s. So archivist Kira was saying in chat, the color might suggest 1930s to early 1940s, but the price probably suggests 1940s or later. Let's see. How about some fruits and vegetables? There are a lot of boxes in this. Fruits and vegetables. Oh, these are interesting. Zoom in a little bit. Hopefully not too far, which I've done before. All right. Try Travers's truck fertilizer. The illustration here, peas above, no peas below. This is a very, very interesting illustration. Some elements of it feel familiar. I don't know enough to be able to state definitively, but there's definitely the illustration of the man here who's using the chair to hold off the woman. I would say his depiction is very hobo-ish, illustration style that was generally used to indicate a hobo of some sort, the hat on his head and the red nose, and he definitely seems to, there's a bottle behind him on the ground, so maybe not a hobo, but maybe a drunkard, unclear. The woman has the red cheeks and the apron and is holding what appears to be a blunt instrument behind her. Typical illustration of like a haranguing wife, the wife that's berating the husband. That seems to be the illustration there. This, however, I don't know. The peas with arms and legs and a child's head smoking a cigarette in a hat. No idea. Again, We've got a fertilizer company. S.W. Travers and Company, importers and manufacturers of fertilizers. Brands, Orkilla, National, and Capital. Based in Richmond, Virginia, sell fertilizers of all kinds and manufacture a special fertilizer for each crop. This whole series here, somewhat similar illustrations. Here we have Potato Quick Step, and then there's some music illustrated below it. And we've got a potato sitting on a tree branch, playing a fiddle, with, it appears, pigs dancing beneath. Price and Reed, successors to Price and Knickerbocker, seedsmen. Albany, New York. So these would be, I believe, seed vendors, being seedsmen. Price and Reed, successors to Price and Knickerbocker. This has been pasted to something at some point and then removed from what it was pasted to. You can see it has left some residue and obscured some of the writing. Established 57 years, comma, importers, growers, and dealers. Seeds, implements, fertilizers, seed drills, and a word, etc. Planet Junior, Horse Hoe, Timothy and Clover, catalog free on application. And then the address in Albany, New York. So these, I'm very curious. I would be very interested to know the publisher for these cards or the illustrator for these cards, because these are not all the same company, but they all have the same style of illustration. First Premium Cabbage Head. L.P. Griffith and Company, Baltimore. Copyright 1887 by J.H. Biforos Sons? Not sure. But yeah, that's a well-decked out head of cabbage there. As KB McNabb notes, so suave. And on the back, the best cough syrup. Rodiker's Pulmonary Balsam, a sure and speedy remedy for the cure of coughs, colds, asthma, croup, whooping cough, difficult breathing, etc., etc. This preparation has been in use for the last 20 years, and we can confidently recommend it to be the best cough remedy extant. Give it a trial. Price 25 cents per bottle. Sold by Dealers General. Prepared by Buttaker Brothers, Druggists. 1414 Main Street, Richmond, Virginia. So I must have misread this up here. It's Buttaker's Pulmonary Balsam, not Rodiker's. But, so the front is this cabbage man, and the back is an ad for cough syrup. I don't know, but these illustrations are very interesting. Here we have red and white grapes, who appear to be in a loving embrace, or in an embrace at least. It says, pressed grapes. Fruits and vegetables in great profusion at Westfield Fair, October 2, 3, 4, 5, 1888. And that's the whole ad on that one. It doesn't have anything on the back. A. Nasano and Brother, dealers in fruit and confections. 924 Arch Street, Philadelphia. And again, nothing on the back of that one. That one was inserted in here behind the grapes one, it doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the series, so I'm uncertain. A date and a printer on that one, yeah. And here we have some more peas. Very, very dapper peas. This one is copyright Clay and Richmond, Buffalo, New York, 1885. The back is blank. So they're not printed by the same places. There's no indication of who the artist is, but they are all of a definite style. They match. They're all these like illustrations of vegetables with human heads. Somewhat disturbing in cases. Let's see. Here we have, it looks like some lettuce being worn as a dress. Less disturbing than the peas with just human heads on top. Her shoes are from Zinnmeisters. So not even an ad for food or medicine or anything. It's an ad for shoes. Waterproof boots. To go with wet feet is to invite colds, chills, and disease. We can now assure you dry feet in leather boots. Proof against water, proof against dew. Electricized, proof against ammonia, proof against milk and whey. Don't miss the store. 146 North Salina Street. See the man in tub boots. Health and comfort in waterproof boots. At Zinnmeisters. Zinsmeisters. Boots that won't soak. It's an illustration of a man standing in a bucket. But we have the same illustration with another ad. Feed the land and it will feed you. Buy LL Crocker's Buffalo Honest Fertilizers. Ammoniated bone superphosphates, pure ground bones. These goods have now been tried for over 11 years, are the best standard fertilizers in the market, and are thoroughly reliable. Send for circular to nearest agent or to LL Crocker's Buffalo Fertilizer and Chemical Works, Buffalo, New York. So the same ad, they're the same illustration. One for boots, one for fertilizer. Clearly this was an advertising company that was had a set of illustrations that they made available to clients in order to advertise their products. It's a very interesting set of ads with all of the uniquely illustrated vegetables with human heads. I'm uncertain why people thought this was a great advertising method. They're definitely eye-catching illustrations. So maybe that's it. I just don't know. They're somewhat baffling to me. At least in this case, like here we have Parker and Wood Seeds and Tools in Boston. At least here they're advertising seeds, which seems somewhat appropriate for the type of picture on the front. Again, this has been pasted to, it looks like black cardboard at some point, and then removed from that. Agricultural warehouse and seed store, flower seeds, flowering bulbs, plants, etc. Wood's celebrated ice tools, valuable illustrated catalog sent free. Parker and Wood. Yeah. Uncertain. We are at about 4:30 now. That is the scheduled stopping time, so I'm going to go ahead and begin the wrap-up. And we'll look to raid somebody with whoever is here. I'm going to switch back over to this camera view. So thank you, everybody who came today. I had a fun time looking at the Culinary Ephemera here, all of the interesting advertisements. I do have a plan for next week, so I will throw that out here. I just have to remember exactly what it is. Oh yes, next week I am going to be looking at materials from our International Archive of Women in Architecture small collections. So we house here the International Archive of Women in Architecture, and in that we have a number of smaller collections that are basically a single folder or a couple of folders. And so we'll look at a few of those and get to see some highlights or some various architects who've got material in that collection, and we'll talk a little bit about that next week. I'm gonna see who we might want to send our raid over to today. You know, I think today I'm gonna send you over to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. They are doing sea otters at the moment. So they're streaming some sea otters. So I hope you all enjoy that. I'm going to click here and we'll find them. They are a lovely stream to just have on in the background and listen to, so I'm going to set up that raid. I hope you join me again here next week to see some of the stuff from the Women in Architecture. It was lovely having you all here today. These are quite fun for me. I'm finding materials that I've never seen before. Thank you all for coming, and see you next week.